Sawadeekub khon. Welcome back to the channel. In this tutorial, we're going to cover one of the most important foundations of programming in Python, which are variables, data types, and user input. Without further ado, let's dive into this tutorial. Variables are like containers that store data, and data types describe what kind of data we are storing. Now, let's walk through some examples together. First up is integers, which are whole numbers like 1, 2, 100, and so on. So here I will create two integer variables x and y. Then I'll add them together using the plus operator and store the result in a new variable called total. Finally, I will use print to display the result. Now I'll click run. Here, you'll see the output, which is the sum of x and y, which is 11. Now, let's look at float variables. Floats are numbers with decimal points, for example 3.14 or 22.5. Let me show you by typing up some code. This variable stores a floating point number, which is useful when you want precision like exam scores, prices, or measurement. Now, when I click play, it will display the float value onto the terminal. Now, let's move on to string, which is mentioned a lot in the Hello World tutorial. Strings are used to store text, or to be more precise, an array of characters. They are written inside quotation marks, which can be either double quotes or single quotes. Let me show you. From this code, we have defined the variables for name, number1, number2, and club. Name and club are normal strings, but number1 and number2 looks like they are numbers, but if they are inside quotes, they are actually strings. So when you add two strings using the add operator, Python combines them. This is called string concatenation. So when I click play, the name and club will be displayed as normal, and as for the number, they will be 46 instead of 10, and this is called string concatenation. Next up is the Boolean data type. Boolean can only have two values, true or false. Let me show you. Now I'll click play. So as you can see, we are assigning false and true to the variable. Later in programming, you'll see that booleans are super useful for making decisions and controlling the flow using if statements. Next, we'll move on to type checking. Sometimes it is helpful to check what type of data a variable holds. Python has a built-in function for that, which is the type function. Here, let me show you. If I click run, it will output something like this. Like class string, class float, class boolean. This is useful especially when you're debugging or working with user input. Next, we move on to typecasting. Referring back slightly onto string just now, what if we do want to add number 1 and number 2 as numbers instead of strings? Well, allow me to show you. Now, if I click the run button, it will add both numbers to 10 instead of 46. This is because we use the integer function. We can use the integer function in order to convert strings into integers. This process is called typecasting. You can also cast them into string floats by using the string function and the float function. Here, let me show you. Now, when I click run, it shows that I've converted the data type into float and string by using the float and string function. This is typecasting. Lastly, we move on to user input. In order to allow user to input something onto the program, we can use the input function like this. Here, input lets users type something. Whatever they type will be stored as a string in the variable. When I click run, it will allow me to input something, so I just type my name, Python, and it will say hello Python. Now, let's ask the user for two numbers and add them. Now, if I click run, I have to input two numbers. So I'll just input 5 and 10. But we do not get 15, instead we get 510. This is because these numbers are still strings. Whenever a user inputs something, when we use the input function, it will automatically become a string. So we can do it like this. Now, if we click run, it will sum up the number and our total will equals to 50. Remember, input always returns a string. So if you're expecting a number, you need to cast it using the integer or float function. And that's all for this tutorial. The lessons on variable, data types, and user input are all essential building blocks for every Python program you ever write. I'm Python, thank you for your attention, and I'll see you in the next video.